Am I the asshole for going off on my stepsister after what she said? For some context, my stepsister, who I'll call Marie, is 26. I just turned 21 this year. Our parents got married when I was 7, but her dad became my dad in every sense. He raised me. Marie is the middle child, and for as long as I can remember, she's always been the golden one. If she didn't feel like doing something, chores, errands, whatever, it was passed off to either me or our older sister without fail. It was like she had this magical immunity to responsibility. She was spoiled beyond belief, coddled by our dad, and could never do anything wrong in his eyes. Growing up, my family wasn't just not well off. We were barely scraping by most of the time. As a teenager, I worked 3, sometimes even 4 jobs while going to school just to help make ends meet. It wasn't a choice, it was survival. Fast forward to now, I moved out almost a year ago. My boyfriend and I, who had been dating for a year at the time, decided to get our own place. Since then, we've both been working at a warehouse, earning about $75,000 a year each. Life's finally starting to stabilize. We've been saving for a new car, and maybe even a better place in the near future. Marie, on the other hand, hasn't exactly been thriving. She lost the apartment we used to share because she illegally moved our oldest sister and her kids in without notifying the landlord. Ever since, she's been living in a property owned by a church in her town. She refuses to get a job, claiming, and I quote, "God will take care of me." Now, mind you, this is coming from someone who used to laugh at religious people. Her sudden religious devotion is less about faith and more about, well, avoiding responsibility. The issue started a few days ago. Marie texted me asking to borrow some money. Honestly, this wasn't new. She's been hitting me up for cash ever since she found out I have a decent paying job. She doesn't know exactly how much I make, but she knows it's more than enough to spark her interest. I asked her what she needed it for, mostly because I've learned the hard way that Marie tends to ask for more than she actually needs. Her response? "I want to buy some Mike's Hard Lemonade. They're only $5 right now." I stared at my phone in disbelief for a solid minute before replying. I sent her 3 laughing emojis and then said, "No." She immediately got upset, asking why, and I told her straight up, "Because I'm not sending you money to get drunk. If I send you money, it's for something important, not alcohol." That didn't sit well with her. She went off, sending me multiple paragraphs about how I'm inconsiderate, how I'm her sister, and how I should be helping her out. Somewhere in that word vomit, she threw in a line about how $35 or $40 is nothing to me. And honestly, that pissed me off. This is someone who has never worked for anything in her life, while I was out here juggling multiple jobs as a teenager just to keep our household afloat. The entitlement was staggering. I tried ignoring her because, truthfully, I know how I can get when I'm angry, and I didn't want to say something I'd regret. But she wouldn't stop. She kept texting over and over until she sent this gem. "I can't believe you won't help me out at all. You never did. All you did was go out and do God knows what, and I'm so fucking sick of your bratty child-ass behavior." That was it. I snapped. I sent her a long text back, letting it all out. I told her, "You know what? Mom and Dad didn't want me to tell you this because they thought you'd think less of them, but here it is. It was me who bought your shampoo, conditioner, razors, body wash, everything you needed but never noticed. I'm the reason groceries magically appeared in the fridge when it was empty. I'm the reason the car got fixed so many times. And do you want to know how? Because I was working 3, sometimes 4 jobs while going to school and juggling high school sports. I did softball, volleyball, tennis, and track. So yeah, I was always gone or asleep because I was exhausted for years. I'm not sending you money because God doesn't condone drinking." My boyfriend thinks I was justified and says Marie needed a wake-up call. My older sister agrees she needed to hear it, but thinks I could have handled it differently. Some extended family members, like my aunts and cousins, think I was too harsh and should have just sent her $10 instead of arguing. But honestly, I don't feel like I was wrong, so am I the asshole? Update 1. I have read through all the comments, and honestly, I appreciate everyone who reassured me that I am not in the wrong. Deep down, I already knew that, but hearing it from others has been comforting. To answer the commenter who wished us luck in finding a new place, we actually had a meeting this afternoon with a realtor, and things are looking really promising. We think we found the perfect house, everything we could have dreamed of and more. It even has a stunning yard, which is amazing since we are hoping to start expanding our family in the future. Fingers crossed that everything works out. Anyway, back to the drama. After giving it some thought, I decided to text my aunts, uncles, and cousins to address the situation directly. I told them that if they wanted to continue supporting Marie's lazy, freeloading behavior, that was entirely up to them. However, I made it crystal clear that I am done being treated like the family cash cow. Just because I helped out as a teenager doesn't mean I am obligated to keep doing it now that I am an adult with my own life, responsibilities, and priorities. Most of them, to my surprise, backed down after that. A few even apologized for being so rude and pushy. It felt good to finally set that boundary and have it respected, at least by most of them. But of course, there's always someone who has to escalate things. One of my aunts shot back with a snarky comment. "Oh yeah, responsibilities like what? Bills?" She went on to downplay my situation, saying things like, "You and your boyfriend are doing well financially, so it's not like you have real struggles." She was backed by a couple of cousins and uncles who decided to gang up and try to pressure me into giving in. They probably thought that if they kept blowing up my phone, I would eventually cave. What they didn't count on was my boyfriend stepping in. Here's the thing about my boyfriend. He absolutely does not tolerate anyone upsetting me, not even for a second. When he noticed that I was getting increasingly aggravated, upset, and just plain angry from the flood of texts, he had enough. Without hesitation, he took my phone and created a group chat with every single family member who was still causing problems. Then he sent this message. "Hi, this is her boyfriend. I am speaking on her behalf because she is currently very upset, hurt, and distraught, which is something I will not tolerate. Enough is enough. You all need to understand a few things. First of all, none of you had to do even a fraction of what she has done to ensure her family survived. Where were all of you when they needed food, hygiene products, or any basic necessities? Oh, right, you didn't help. She did. She did something she never should have been forced to do because she cared about her family and wanted them to survive. As a teenager, she worked 3, sometimes 4 jobs while attending school and participating in 4 sports throughout the year. She spent what should have been the best years of her life acting as a second parent and adult for her family. And do you think she got to keep any of that money? No. She used every paycheck to cover the things her family needed. Now, as a grown adult making her own money, she has every right to decide how she spends it. If she chooses not to give away her hard-earned money to further enable the human equivalent of a participation trophy, that is entirely her choice. And she does not owe any of you an explanation for her decision." After sending that message, he waited for a response, but none came. So he went ahead and blocked every single one of them on my phone. When he handed it back to me, he said, "You can unblock them if you want to, but I really think it is best if you do not. They cause you way too much pain, and I hate seeing you so upset like this." I agreed with him. It felt like the healthiest choice to go no contact with a small group of family members who refused to back down or apologize, as well as with Marie. When my mom found out about the situation, she was far from happy. However, she told me she respects my decision and promised not to bring up the family members I have chosen to cut off. Her support means a lot to me, and it feels like a weight has been lifted now that I have drawn these boundaries. Update 2. This update is not one I wanted to make, nor one I had planned, but a lot has happened since the last time I wrote. To give you some context, this incident took place about a month and a half ago. First, though, I want to share some good news. My boyfriend and I managed to get the house we were eyeing during the last update. It was a big milestone for us, and we were in the middle of packing up to move when everything went down. As for my family drama, I had blocked the aunts, uncles, cousins, and, of course, my sister Marie after the last incident. I went no contact as I had intended, but unfortunately, it did not last as long as I had hoped. Marie, being Marie, found a way to stir up trouble once again. She showed up unannounced at my place while my boyfriend was out. I was outside, finishing up some yard work for the last time before the move. I was caught off guard when I saw her walking toward me, and I instantly knew this was not going to be a pleasant interaction. I decided not to let her inside. Partly, it was because I did not know what she wanted, but mostly because I did not trust her around my space. Knowing her, she could get angry and trash the place, and we would have to pay for the damages, something I was not willing to risk. I asked her straight up what she wanted. She rolled her eyes and said, "Why are you making such a big deal about this? I asked for $35 to $40. That is nothing to you. You probably make that in, 2 or 3 hours at your job? And instead of just helping me out, you blow up and block me and everyone else who tried to get you to see reason." Her entitlement left me speechless for a moment, but then I let her have it. "This is exactly your problem, Marie," I told her. "Dad spoiled you so much you have no clue what the real world is like. You are so self-absorbed it is suffocating, like you have to suck the air out of every room you walk into. You think 2 or 3 hours of my work is no big deal? Sure, that may not sound like a lot to you, but those hours are full of hard work, and I do it for 10 hours a day plus overtime. I have bills, responsibilities, and goals. Things you clearly know nothing about. I have a life, Marie. And guess what? Being your personal ATM is not part of it. I have done more than my fair share for you. Marie scoffed, clearly unimpressed. You are so selfish, she shot back, and heartless. How can you turn your back on your sister when she needs help? I could not help but laugh bitterly. Help? I repeated. Yeah, maybe help getting into some Alcoholics Anonymous meetings in rehab, wanting to get drunk because you are 26, unemployed, living in a church-owned property, and going nowhere in life is not needing help. It is you being lazy and thinking a higher power is going to magically fix everything if you pray hard enough. That was the final straw for her. She lunged at me, fists flying. At first, I tried not to fight back. I did not want to escalate things, and honestly, I knew she had no clue how to throw a punch. I, on the other hand, do. My mom insisted I take boxing lessons as a teenager to learn how to defend myself, so I knew how to handle myself. I tried to push her off me without hurting her, but she landed a punch square on my jaw. That was when I stopped holding back. We were full-on fighting when my boyfriend pulled into the driveway about 5 minutes later. He immediately ran over and dragged Marie off me. His first instinct was to check on me, making sure I was okay. I had a busted lip, a sore jaw, and some minor scrapes and bruises. Marie, on the other hand, was bleeding from her nose and mouth, with bruises already forming on her face. A neighbor, having witnessed the fight, called the police. Thankfully, the outdoor cameras at our place had captured everything, including the part where I tried to de-escalate before she landed the first punch. When the police arrived, they reviewed the footage and determined I had acted in self-defense. Then came the big decision. The officer turned to me and asked if I wanted to press charges against Marie. I looked at my boyfriend, then at the officer, and finally at my sister. Memories of all the things I had done for her over the years came flooding back. Buying her essentials, putting food in the fridge, fixing the car. For a moment, I hesitated. She was my sister after all. At one point, I had cared for her deeply. My boyfriend, sensing my conflict, pulled me aside. I know she is your sister, he said gently, but what she did was wrong, and she needs to face the consequences. You have been enabling her for too long. We went back and forth for a while. He helped calm me down, and once I felt more grounded, I made my decision. I looked at the officer and said firmly, I want to press charges. It is time she learns her actions have consequences. Marie spent 2 weeks in jail awaiting her court hearing. In the end, she received probation and community service, just as the officer had predicted. It was not about the jail time for me. It was about finally holding her accountable. As for me, my boyfriend and I have since moved into our new house. It is perfect. Everything we had hoped for. We have been spending our time decorating, buying furniture, and making it feel like home. We even added 2 sibling Pitsky puppies, Calypso and Rocky, to the family. They adore the fenced-in backyard and love chasing our friends around during bonfires. For the first time in a long time, I feel truly free. Marie and the rest of the family members I blocked have no idea where we live now, and I intend to keep it that way. Life is peaceful, and I am finally happy.